Hello, folks. I'm Mark Venuti. I'm the supervisor of the town of Geneva. If you don't know New York government, that's like the manager kind of person. So this is great. Thank you all for coming out. So we're going to get started. And here's how it's going to go. David West is here somewhere, representing the city. He's going to say hello. And Dave Phillips is here. He's the chair of the Ontario County Planning and Environmental Quality Committee. And we also have Regina Sousa, who's a staffer on the county, and the county is supporting this. So we're looking at this to be a really big thing. It could take us a while, but this is how you start. So after our introductions, Diane Cohen is here. She's the person that made the finger lace reuse in Tompkins County. It's a model for the state and beyond. She's going to do a presentation. Then I'm going to take some just general questions if you have questions. And Jan Regan, who's helping out here, is going to go through some of the questions that are on that sheet. And we'll open it up. And we hope everybody, we learn something, you learn something, and that we get you to people that are interested to sign up to be part of our work groups that we're going to go after this with different topics. So let me say this is Dave West.
Thank you.
Great. My name is David West. I'm the City of Geneva's Director of Planning and Economic Development. I want to welcome you all here tonight and give a big thanks to Mark and the town of Geneva for setting this up. I think we're all really excited about it. It's a great example of collaboration between governments. I think this is something that we really need, and I'm very glad that you organized it and brought us all together. I'm happy to turn it over to Diane, and when we get started with a round of applause for, Dave for the county, come on up.
Thanks. I guess I want to start really with thanking the city and the town of Geneva for really taking this project on. Really, it's leading the way for the county in many ways. So I just want to touch base on a little bit of what the county's involvement, I guess, or what we stand.
Turn on your mic.
Pardon?
Turn on the mic.
It's on. Just hold it close. Oh, I got to hold it. There we go. Better? So the county, as we did a study and looked back over in 2023, we took a look at sustainability and looked at reuse opportunities, inventories in the county, and found there was a really big gap in that opportunity throughout the county. And one of our goals, or one of our management highlights, is encouraging product reuse programs as an important goal. So obviously, with big gaps in our county inventory for those opportunities, we're always looking for new opportunities to come along. So one of the things the Department of Sustainability does is they have a grant program for our municipalities that can apply for and receive funds for this type of operation. And when Supervisor Venuti approached the county, he was aware of that grant approach for this study, and we looked at it and we said, well, this is a good program. And rather than just the normal grant amount, we decided we would help fund the whole thing with the idea that this is a pilot program. So as you folks move forward, and we hope you're successful, and we hope that you learn some great lessons and want to share those and expand. And the county is looking at this as a pilot to be able to grow this throughout the county. So I wish everybody a lot of success on this program, and I look forward to the county being part of it. Thanks.
Well, this is a really exciting day, and it's great to see almost every seat filled. We bring out more chairs, so welcome everybody. I'm really happy to be here in your community talking about what we're doing one county over, and so I'll just introduce myself and get going. figure out how to get. Good. Yeah, so I'm Diane Cohen. I'm the CEO of Finger Lakes Reuse. Been doing this for quite a number of years. Prior to this, I managed an architectural salvage program. It was funded by Tompkins County. So I really started focusing on reducing waste through materials management in January of 2001. That's how long I've been doing this. And I learned recently that people with ADHD tend to hyper-focus on things. And I think that I may have found a match in this. So I've been really thinking about and studying waste systems for a long, long time, and really happy and honored to be talking to you about this today. When Mark approached me, and I mean, we've been talking for years, but about starting a reuse center, my response was, I'm happy to help start a reuse center, but what we really need to do is have a comprehensive reuse system, because what we've demonstrated with 16 years of work in Tompkins County is that 2 reuse centers plus the 30 plus other brick and mortar buildings that are doing reuse aren't enough. We've been plagued by space needs and being overwhelmed by the popularity of our programs for many years. It started happening in 2019, and it happened before COVID, but then COVID was a whole other level because people were in their houses and making piles, and it's been a really crazy time. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. It's still a business, and in Tompkins County, where there are a lot of nonprofits and people kind of groan, oh, why does Tompkins County need yet another nonprofit? We said, well, we're going to take a really strong business approach to this challenge. And so, how many people have heard of the triple bottom line? A few of you, good. So instead of the bottom line, which is profit, the triple bottom line concept is people, planet, and profit. And there's actually there's a business structure that's called a B corporation that incorporates those ethics. So because we're a 501c3, we thought this would be a way to be able to get foundation money and early investment, because we didn't know what this was going to be. And we still haven't quite figured it out, but we're 16 years along the path. So we made our mission statement, which is required for a 501c3 and recommended for most businesses, to be reflective of the triple bottom line, to enhance community, economy, and environment through reuse. And because we thought that was very broad and maybe amorphous, and what does that really mean, we had some founding goals, which we adhered to both, I'm really proud to say, to reduce waste, relieve poverty, and teach skills through reuse activities. And years later, our board got together and did a retreat and came up with a vision statement, which is also recommended, but it took us about a decade. I was really proud of what the board came up with for our vision of a just, resilient, and waste-free world that values people and resources. And one of the main epiphanies about this reuse work is, while reducing waste is really important for the environment, it's incredibly empowering for the people who are taking part of that. And that's been the thing that's transformed me personally. I've been very fortunate to be along this path. So we have 2 community reuse centers. How many people have been to one of our reuse centers? About a third of you, great. You're welcome to come, we're open every day. I did email when we had a report over the holidays that someone brought their mother's stuff from Niagara County to our reuse center because they were so happy there was a place to bring it. I emailed the head of waste in Niagara County. I said, we're accepting your materials now, so you guys got to get planning on your reuse center. So we opened our first one in 2008 in the strip mall. The second one, we purchased a building in 2015. We handle household goods, furniture, building materials, electronics, textiles, books, shoes, and much more. We also started a deconstruction and salvage service, taking whole buildings apart by hand. There's an asterisk on that, and I'll tell you why in a sec. We got into refurbishing computers. We're a licensed Microsoft refurbisher, so we accept computers and we refurbish them and we turn them back around. How many people have heard of repair cafes? About a third of you.
We call it a fix-it clinic.
Fix-it clinic, how many people have heard of fix-it clinics? Okay, more of you. So that's what the Ithaca Fixers Collective is. It's a group of volunteers, and we give them space, and we got them going, and we gave them tools, and every Saturday afternoon, every week, from 3 to 5, and it's run, the main volunteer is a retired nurse. When we started accepting computers, we were really overwhelmed by the volume, and it took us about 3 years to get a job training program, a mutually beneficial job training program to help kind of complement our workforce and have a way that people could build skills and contribute to the work that we needed to get done. We've always given stuff away, but we formalized a program giving materials away to people in crisis and community organizations who need things because we've such an abundance. And I'll give you some stats on that in a second. We also, back up in the strip mall, we expanded again. In April of 2020, you guys remember what we were doing in April of 2020? Most people weren't expanding their businesses, but we've really tried to, balance the risk taking we take, and that's been a really important step for us. And then with COVID, we just had this absolute need for storage warehouses. What we'd like to have are working warehouses where there's people working on these materials and they're not just sitting there. We've sent 20 to 25 tractor trailer loads of materials out of Tompkins County into out of state and probably out of country markets. And we don't like doing that. We'd love to be able to get even more onto the shelves in Tompkins County. The reason we're sending it out isn't because it's not selling. It's because our people don't have enough capacity to get it on the shelves. I can tell you the more stuff we put on the shelves, the more the public buys, and we haven't found the ceiling of that yet. We just are running into the capacity of our staff. And then one person donated an enormous amount of fabric, and so this in the same space the Fixers Collective is happening. We have a community quilt making center that started teaching sewing skills. It's really exciting. And we paused our deconstruction services in 2018, largely because if we go and take a house apart, we had no place to bring it back to we were so saturated with material. But we are still, if there's remodeling, we're still doing smaller stuff like that. We're still advising and connecting on that. So we have an economic impact analysis. We did, and this is from 2018 to 2022. So 2023 numbers aren't in here, but we did nearly $9 million in sales over the 5 years of that period. We did $2.4 million in sales in 2023. We returned money back to the county, $346,000, nearly 10 million pounds kept out of the landfill, and 2.8 million items. And if people are interested in seeing that report, it might be linked on our website, and I certainly can share it. We'll be following up by email for everybody who shares their email here. We had 2.5 years of planning before we opened our first reuse center. And what would motivate you to reuse? What would motivate you to donate? What would motivate you to purchase? It's convenience and affordability. And that's really driven our business. We're open 7 days, which isn't usual for a lot of thrift, et cetera. We're continuing to grow. We're expecting to do $2.8 million in sales this year. Last week, our Trip Hammer Marketplace mall place just did record sales in February. Usually that's August. The growth that we're experiencing is driven by the public bringing us more and more in the form of what we call donation drop-offs. We started with 7 employees. We opened 7 days a week in 2008. And now we have 79 employees. We pay a living wage, we pay benefits. It's about 56 full-time equivalent, and then it's supplemented by 19 apprentices, people in training programs, and we get some grant support for those. What we say in our grant applications is we can pay for 50% of what they're doing, and so because they're actually helping us put stuff out on the shelves, and we were able to connect 8 of those apprentices to permanent jobs. We gave away almost $120,000 in free materials in the form of store credits to over 800 households in Tompkins County last year. We provided free materials last year to another 32 nonprofit and community organizations. 77% of our overall revenues, our budget this year is $4.3 million. 77% of our revenues are through sales and services, through our businesses. And then almost about 10% is government contracts, and the rest are foundations and individual donors. So we do have a philanthropic, really important part that's really helped us with our growth. Almost 50,000 drop-off donations in 2023. We received, that's 160 cars a day. It's very overwhelming for our staff. Regardless of the weather, people come to bring us stuff. We averaged about 500 plus transactions at the cash registers daily last year. It's a lot of people that are coming in and shopping. Just so you know, we have 100,000 people in Tompkins County. There are 30,000 of them are students, You know, I don't know how many are kids, but it's a lot of people. A big percentage of the public is shopping in our places. So reuse also can help heal some of the environmental harms that the waste industry has been, you know, a part of. You know, the incinerators and landfills often affect all the communities around them, but a lot of times they're cited nationally, and I don't know as much around here, you know, between the water quality, air quality, et cetera, asthma cases. And reuse can help rebuild some of the economies that have been destroyed by some of those activities. So skill building, career, and not just building skills so that you can get a good job, you can learn skills to start your own business, which I think would be really attractive to communities who have not had that kind of access in the past. By keeping these materials out and organizing them enough to start businesses, I think there are many businesses that could start from this. This was a transformative talk. I heard this biologist, Dr. Janine Benyus. Has anyone heard of her? She's have you heard of biomimicry? Designing systems, all right. Designing systems based on natural systems. So there's a lot of that, and I'm not good at examples. I'm not even going to give you her examples. I'm going to encourage you to Google her. I heard her speak at a business conference many years ago, and she talked about how we're kind of conditioned to think that competition prevails in nature. And some of you are probably already thinking, what about the fill in the blank, Salvation Army? I'm not sure who else is here. Center of Concern is also Center of Concern, right? So, and I was very sensitive to that as well as we were starting up. And so, what she talked about was we're kind of conditioned to think that competition prevails in nature. There's all these cliches like survival of the fittest, et cetera. And she said when in fact, collaborative systems are far more resilient, far more long-lived. And I think, you know, at Finger Lakes, you know, how did we get to where we are today? It hasn't been like the money and the investment, although that's been very helpful. It's been the collaborative approach we've taken, and having a meeting like this to see who's interested early on, how can we leverage that, how can we move this forward together is the key. So taking a collaborative approach, it can be slower, it can be messier, but it can be really powerful, and it can really set up an institution that you guys as community members could really enjoy for a long time, as can your neighbors. So these are some of the founding partners with Finger Lakes Reuse. Our county put a reuse center, it was one sentence in their solid waste management plan. And that helped them put some resources toward that because it was in their plan. Our cooperative extension provided fiscal sponsorship. We didn't get our 501c3 status, but we were applying for grants and we needed someone to umbrella us. So our cooperative extension did that. I was working at Historic Ithaca and Significant Elements at the time, the architectural salvage place, our eco village, which people may have heard of, an intentional ecological community. And then we had people from Cornell and Ithaca College and others at the table when we were first doing we had 2 years of planning before we got anything open. I think this community could go much more quickly because of what we've learned. More recently, over the last 3 or 4 years, an organization called Crowd. It's an informal organization. We're calling it a network. It's like an informal network of professionals and academics, people from Cornell University, really focused on building materials reuse. They're so poorly served everywhere. And so Crowd, circularity, reuse, and zero waste development, they have a huge array of resources, and New York State is listening, the federal government, the US EPA is listening to them, and they've started out of Ithaca, but they'll be a great resource for this community. They're working on policy development, really fabulous, and they've lifted some things that I was the lone voice for a long time for deconstruction, and it's been really exciting that they've been part of it. I put this picture in because our marketing coordinator took this beautiful photograph, but this is one of our locations, and inside, here's some clothing. Shoes, housewares, toys, lots of small appliances, larger appliances, refurbished computers, lighting, all sorts of media, bicycles, and we're partnering with the local bike nonprofit, building materials. But really, what I really want you to look at is the engagement with our workforce. Green living wage jobs and skill building apprenticeships for quality careers. On the left, that's Yvonne and Louise. They were two 4 first employees, and they're still working with us. And it's a tribute to them that they still work with me, but they are just amazing. Ivan emigrated from Moldova many years ago, couldn't find work, and he ended up running everything. He's just a wonderful guy. In the middle, Francine, who ran programs at Cornell and is now retired. There she is working, volunteering with the Fixers Collective. And on the right, Jones, one of our beloved volunteers who, seniors and youth, all sorts of people can work with us. And she loved alphabetizing the media. Here's a few of my coworkers who are on payroll. Here's a few more. Here's Hanif. Raquel, she started in high school as a freshman. She has graduated from high school, going to college, and is working in our office now, and also was our top cashier for most of her high school years. One of these guys she recruited to work with us, and they're still working with us. He's a retired Marine. Peter is a refugee from South Sudan, and now is employed with us. Terry, Suzanne is our workforce coordinator. Here's a couple of our apprentices, youth workers, and volunteers have been really important. They've been about, I think, around 6+% of our workforce. Actually, here's a couple of, Bruce right here with the white hair he's our head of the Ithaca Fixers Collective, head volunteer, shows up every Saturday, gives people rides who may not have access to transportation. But we had a couple of events right before COVID. We haven't revived it yet. We called Kids Fix to see if there were youth that might be interested. And what I love about these photos are the intergenerational exchange of skills. I mean, how exciting is this? Just over a bunch of, I'm not allowed to call it junk, so I won't call it junk. But just stuff that's of value that just with a couple of little tweaks and some focus can be really worthwhile things. Some superstar volunteers. I just saw her today, Erica. She's been volunteering with us for years. The Ithaca Rotary Club started volunteering with us last fall. We are donating 2 pallets of materials to them. We had to come up with this creative deal to make sure we don't, strain our 501c3 status and make sure we're staying within our mission. We're donating materials to them that are excess. They're coming into our space. They're pricing them. They're putting them on the shelves. We're tracking it, and we're giving them a portion of the proceeds. And we wrote them a check. They started in late August last year. We gave them a check for $5,000 last year for 2 volunteers a week, or two volunteer events a week through the end of the year. And so we're hoping that it becomes a model for other community organizations. So more volunteers. We work a lot with Cornell students. And just the pride at the end of the 2-hour event, it's really fabulous, and the uplift for our hardworking staff has been great, moving projects forward. So we've run into capacity issues. So one thing is there's another newish group called Zero Waste Ithaca. They did a dumpster study in and around Cornell University, and I think these photos are both on and off campus, but even in spite of Finger Lakes Reuse being open 7 days a week, and Cornell has a very robust dump and run program that does about $75,000 in sales in August, and they collected in May, and they sorted all summer with lots of volunteers. Even with both of these student-focused offerings, the dumpsters are still filling up with reusable materials. It's daunting, but I'm happy to say Cornell University is really interested in also setting up a comprehensive reuse system. So that's some work we'll be beginning in parallel with work here in Geneva and Ontario County. So this is a shot inside our warehouse. This is just, these are pallet boxes or Gaylords. They were named after someone in Gaylord who invented the triple wall cubic yard box that you can move around on a pallet. So we have these overflowing Gaylords. This is our donation drop-off area. This is just typical at move-out time or any time when the public just decides to bring stuff. We don't have a baler yet, so we're hand loading. This is inside a tractor trailer, sending stuff into another community. Here's the overwhelm. This is during the beginning of COVID when we reopened donations. This happened in about 6 months, just bags of clothes. There's another tractor trailer, and this truck, it smelled like garbage. It was ironically horrible, and it was a miserable day. Let's see, another drop-off. And then here's 200 pallets in spite of our 2 warehouses we expanded into, 200 pallets under tarps outside. So if we have more workforce, we really need to build up and effort and a little bit better system. We're a little bit inefficient sometimes. We're exhausted. A couple of our star volunteers coming in the evenings, helping us do some sorting. We also, in terms of capacity, we're not experts in the huge array of things. And there's a couple people in the back who might recognize this character. Richie Stearns is a famous world-renowned banjo player. He's in our shops all the time. And we don't have the expertise to understand what the value of things are. And that's where those enterprises if we could sort it enough to get them to enterprises. We have people coming in and buying every day to resell, but it's not organized or formalized in any kind of way, but there's a huge opportunity. And these are baled clothes. And I'm really happy to say that our Assembly member, New York State Assembly member, Andy Kellis, has given us a grant to fix our parking lot and our roof at the building that we own, but also purchase a baler, which means that textiles that have a market, even though we're filling up tractor trailer loads with clothes, if it's been on the sales floor or if it has a stain or a tear, even though there's a market, if we can't bale it, we can't hand load it into a truck because they don't want to pay to tractor trailer load a lot of air and there's not enough material in there. So we're really excited about that. We also have a grant from the Appalachian Regional Commission to develop a technical assistance program this year for other communities. What community should we work with? And even though Ontario County may not be in the Appalachian region, all communities in New York State will benefit from us developing this program. So who can participate in a comprehensive reuse system? So I didn't know this was a penny farthing. I had to learn this last year, but this is not what bicycles look like anymore, right? Systems need to evolve to improve. And so then I made a graphic, so you can laugh. Really I was focused on municipalities, nonprofits, and community groups. That's what we came out of. But we all have a role, right? We're all stakeholders in reuse materials. So you can't read these little pie charts, but I'll go through them. Government, policy and planning, the people designing the products, there's something called extended producer responsibility, which is a huge battle zone in the policy front, trying to get product designers to take some responsibility because they design it and then they don't have any responsibility once it's out there. Retailers could set up, they could be part of the reverse logistics, taking the stuff back. They could be part of that system, and they are. There's actually a huge conference that I read about in the New Yorker where 700 people go to Las Vegas to talk about reverse logistics. So it's invisible but encouraging. They want their value back, right? So they could be part of the system. Architects can design materials and buildings to be more circular. Engineers can help with industry development, universities with research, evaluation, consumers and behavior change, the finance sector with investment and analysis, economists, recognition and inclusion. I've talked to economists for a long time and they're starting to come around. But it helps that we're at the $4 million level, I think. Environmentalists are, deeply aligned, but, understanding that this is energy reduction, this is carbon reduction, and prioritizing it. Service groups, all service groups can volunteer and benefit. Justice communities, there could be business accelerators, nonprofits, charitable services, startup enterprises, and focused expertise. So I want to get back to the conversation, so I'm just going to whip through the end of this here. So I've been talking about a hub and exchange system because the exchange, which is where the people can come to and get stuff, or they can get rid of their stuff, there's all different iterations of that, from brick and mortar thrift stores or antique stores or community reuse centers to online marketplaces, right? That these exchanges are already everywhere. They're not measured or captured. But the hub is this larger warehouse space that we're dying to have, and could see some amazing workforce development opportunities where there's some larger scale material handling that happens, and the overflow which plagues us could be managed and found, redistributed to other markets. We may get 14 sofas offered from a hotel, but 2 exchanges over may want half of those or something or whatever. So I think there's an opportunity. I'm working with Cornell. These are very early iterations of what does this hub and exchange look like. But mattresses, getting landfilled throughout most of New York State. There are some that are sending them to a Western New York recycling facility. Appliances, if we could get an appliance, but you need square footage to have a boneyard of appliances. So we turn away appliances if the person says it's not working, which is The fact that it gets scrapped is a problem. This guy drove from Western Massachusetts to bring us lumber because all the places he called in Western Mass and the Hudson Valley said they were too saturated to accept a truckload of plywood, denailed plywood and lumber. Look at this. And then he paid us cash because he gave the owner a write-off because he deconstructed it, and they got it, and then he pulled out his wad of cash. It was amazing. But it just shows that there's just not enough infrastructure. We sold all that immediately. We get tripped up because we can't measure. Well, how much is there? How much of the waste stream is reusable? We have no idea. But I'll replace that with this quote, which is Peter Drucker, who's a kind of a guru of business, regarded as the father of modern business management. Your first role is the personal one. It is the relationship with people, the development of mutual confidence, the identification of people, the creation of a community. And I think that's where we're starting right here. This is something where we can come together and work on this. Here's a small part of our community in Ithaca. We'd love to join you. If you see any places we're interested, we're going to talk about this. I don't know if anyone recognizes that place. That's just a shot I snapped. Which kind of stakeholder are you? What kind of skills could you bring to this effort? And so I just wanted to thank you for your attention, and really excited to open this up to a larger conversation.
The bad part of that is can we get where they are? I think we can, right? Yeah, we can. It's going to take a while, but this is how you start. So I want to just open up for sort of general questions. People have questions, thoughts, and then we've got some set questions that Jan's going to go through. But based on Diane's presentation, Ben?
Oh, I saw this here.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
This is kind of a personal question. What is your background? What have you done in most of your career, life, or whatever? Because I've been in major corporations most of my life, and the things you're talking about are things that fall through the cracks. Major corporations. I was taking environmental courses in the early 70s when nobody did anything but whatever. And so the business approach to this, I applaud big time.
Thank you. I can't lie because my two former coworkers are in the back there. I was a bartender for 19 years. Some of you may have heard of the Rongovian Embassy, but I was an art major. I was fortunate enough to get a politics minor at Ithaca College, and I got a worldview there. I wish I had taken a business class. And the business aspect of this has been largely informed by coworkers. This was not a one-person situation. This was a very huge community effort, and that's why I'm extra delighted to see how many people are here today. Who else had their hand?
One back there.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Director of the Set of Concern, invited here by Jan. How does this affect us? We have a thrift store we have for 52 years that supports our food pantry. We are serving 13,000 of your Geneva neighbors every year. This makes us a little concerned. I don't know what to say, except that we do not accept electronics, we don't accept appliances. Aside from that, we accept everything else that you do. And it is a concern, because we built this up for over 50 years, and we are a not-for-profit, we are non-government funded, we are completely privately funded. So with the money we take in supporting the pantry, how is this going to affect us?
It sounds like this is a meeting that we should have and talk about concerns and ways that we can work together, but we're really grateful that you came today. My theory is that what we're demonstrating is there's way more material than, right, so maybe we could help you in the development of this, realize some efficiencies so that it makes your job easier. But I think that that whole competition versus collaboration, there's a lot to explore there. I haven't seen your operation, but I would love to talk and help facilitate something where it strengthens your efforts so that you're part of this ecosystem.
We have way too much stuff.
Yeah, great. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate your work for sure.
Hey, Sheriff.
Yeah, so this is great. What we have so far that we've seen is like, proof of mutual benefit in Ithaca, because I've been to that store and it's great. People are obviously loving it. We have land here in Geneva, we have a grant. So, but we're still hearing it's going to take a while. So what do you see as the big obstacles to getting this to happen, and how long is a while?
Well, we're gonna break into eventually work groups, and Diane's gonna help us sort of not make the mistakes that they made. So what do we need? We need a big warehouse. We need retail places, so we gotta look around. We need a Diane Cohen. This is what I've been saying, actually. We need our own Diane Cohen. So we gotta find a Diane Cohen. We gotta find somebody that says, I've got a decade to put into something. I'm willing to make this work, make this happen. We got a lot of things to do. We got to fundraise. So these things don't happen overnight. So it's going to take some time. We're going to work. We're going to look at locations. We've been talking about things here, and we'll throw this open here because people may have ideas about sites. I have some, and they're pie in the sky to some extent, maybe, but maybe not. Like the American Can building. Giant building, not underutilized, needs millions of dollars of work. If you read the newspaper, well, there's grants for that kind of stuff. They ran out of all their space. Every time they got warehouse space, they ran out of space. That place is enormous, and it would be a reuse of the building. So this is just off the top of my head. Will we end up there? I don't know. But there's a lot of steps. When will we have a reuse center open? Hard to say. I think it could be, I think we could be open in 2025. That might be optimistic. When we were talking about building this building, I thought we were going to fundraise in 1 year and build it in the second year. It didn't really work out that way, but it's here. So things take longer than you think, but let's see. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of energy here. If people are going to participate, it's going to go faster.
Could we talk about an interim possibly, or think about an interim step? For instance, a way to get people used to the idea of taking things to a resource area, a reuse area, like center of concern, and then if things are not taken from them, there could be volunteers with trucks that would take them to your facility or the Canandaigua Reuse Center, which exists and is ready. But there may be worthy to think about an interim step of just getting people used to the idea of taking them somewhere and then, for like the launching pad as we develop an actual center.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. It certainly could be. The town, we've been doing this thing called Free Stuff Day. I don't know if you've heard of it. One day, we do it twice a year, but it's amazing. People come for the first 2 hours, they leave all this stuff, they're happy, they got rid of the stuff that they didn't want to throw out. And the next 2 hours, people come and take it away. And that's just 2 days. So yeah, we could take an interim step for sure. That's a good idea. Other general?
Well, I just want to say an interim step could be opening a reuse center, because that's not the most complex thing. But what we wanted to do was see who was interested so that you can help us with this, because we have a core group started. We don't have an entity defined, but want to see who can help us, breathe some life into this. And I think it could happen quickly if there's a property identified.
Are there regulations in Ontario County that might be something like an obstacle for doing this compared to talking about?
Can you repeat that for people?
He asked if there are regulations in Ontario County that could be an obstacle to starting this, unlike maybe Tompkins County. I don't think so. We're taking stuff, putting it on shelves. Wherever we open, we'll probably need some kind of building permit or certificate of occupancy from whether it's the city, the town, or whatever. We'll have to go through the normal stuff, but I don't think
Have
so.
you talked to the Canandaigua Reuse Center? I mean, they exist, they're up and running.
Yes. Well, they know,
You know,
we know about it, they know about
yeah, but wouldn't they have certain answers to regulation questions?
it, they
The
might,
county, because they're in the county.
sure,
Yeah.
we can talk to them. So we don't have all the answers tonight, but this is the beginning of figuring it out. And really, what we want to leave here with is some of you signing up to continue this, to be part of it. Jan, we came up with some questions.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jan Regan, and you all probably picked this up. You'll notice there's also a QR code at the bottom. You can fill this out online if you haven't had a chance to do so here. But a lot of this is just to get you thinking about how we would use a reuse center and help us with some ideas as to what you'd like to see in a reuse center. So to start with, if people are willing to speak to what materials you think about, what you have the hardest time getting rid of. Where should a center like this prioritize its efforts? We'd love to hear from people who have thoughts on that. And it's best if you use the mic, so can someone, just because we are online and people might not be able to hear you otherwise.
I'll answer that one from my phone. Appliances are one of the toughest things here everywhere. Basically, they're terrible to landfill. They don't really get recycled as per what the materials are in them. And they're hard to handle. It's almost like you need somebody to be able to go out and pick them up. As much as that seems daunting, that's how you get over the hump, if you will. But a lot of those can be actually restored into being useful to people without it being a major expense. That takes me into one of the questions I have. Diane, from your personal experience, product liability has always been a major part of any company I've been involved in. And I wondered, is there a way that that's indemnified for these people, or is that a concern that, I'm always going to take the negative route because that's one of the things you have to take care of, because they're pitfalls?
I'm not a lawyer, but we've been operating for 16 years without any issues. There are some things we avoid. I don't want to get too distracted with that, and we'll keep moving with, if you guys have challenges with materials, but for 16 years, we haven't had any kind of issue with the materials we've been handling and reselling. We take things back if things don't work, but, thank you. Oh, okay. Yeah, anyone else on things that you have a hard time getting rid of that you'd like to see prioritized?
One of the things I have the hardest time getting rid of is building materials. And it's a two-pronged problem. I live in a county that has one of the biggest landfills in the state, and I can't dump my stuff there. So I gotta drive all the way to Seneca County and pay them to throw away drywall that people could reuse, or scraps of wood. I got bins in my garage full of scraps of wood that crafters could use. I don't know how to get it to them. The good news is Elko up in Macedon will recycle building materials. They basically chop it up and use it for multiple. Crafters do go picking through their pile for stuff. So building materials would be a big plus, because it just goes in the landfill or goes up to Elko to get recycled.
Hi, Mark. I don't know how many of you know this and are familiar with this, but I worked extensively with an organization called Family Promise that reaches out to homeless children and their families and helps to get them back into housing. And we had a very large volunteer pool that were more than happy to donate household goods to our families that needed them. Our big problem was transportation. So we had a mattress, we had a couch, we had a dining room table set, but I'm a 75-year-old woman who does not have access to a pickup truck. And so that would be a consideration.
We're talking about building material, actually. That has also been a subject that I've been very interested in. A couple of things come to my mind, and one is that I would like to, if anybody is interested, at the end of this week, on Friday and Saturday, I think Thursday, Friday, there is a conference in Syracuse that is organized by the ESF, the SUNY College for Environmental science and forestry, and it's all about green building. So while they don't have any, I was looking again today at their program, they don't have any specific about reusing building material. A lot of the lectures have to do with how to or what to use in order to, that circular, you were referring to earlier. But so anyway, that was one thing that I wanted to suggest. But the other thing too is that if you are familiar with the LEED certification, one of the first steps in the LEED certification has to do with, if you deconstruct anything, has to do with channeling all this deconstructed material to other sources. And actually, there are plenty of opportunities if you put it on Facebook or on social media. And those who might even more, be more interested in those are Mennonites. You'll be surprised. So, let's not give up. If you have anything that you don't want to use, building material, just put it out there in the social media, and you'll get a response.
I kind of think that one of the big obstacles when you're trying to get rid of stuff here is when you have something that is decent, but it's broken. So I'm not really sure about I think the fix it and get it back out there idea is definitely there's a hole there for that. That's just my thoughts, because if you do take it to, or you try to take it to Salvo or to Center of Concern, which we all want to do those things, they won't take it if it's broken. Or like, for example, a piece of furniture or a bed frame, which maybe with the right brace or whatever is workable again. So that's just my thought. I think that the fix it, kind of upcycle it type of thing would be a spot.
Thank you. Back to your original question about things we want to get rid of. I'm a book person and a retiring professional, and at least in my cohort, there's thousands and thousands of books that have served in professional libraries for many years, and I just know from my many contacts that whether it's faculty or attorneys or any professional who uses a professional library, there's a struggle to have these books end up somewhere besides a dumpster. So I would add, and maybe, I don't know, do you have, being in Cornell and Ithaca, do you have a special emphasis on sort of book circulation?
Our emphasis is if it sells, we'll that's great. We do have a book department. One of the things that I'm hoping in the work that we're doing with Cornell is like a product material matrix. So here's the product that has a value in the product, but if that product doesn't have a value, what's the material and what's the market for that? And books, they've been wavering whether they're recycling or not. It goes in and out of recycling markets. But I think if you can amass enough volume, there's also, with books, there's an international trade as well. I don't know about out of country, but there could be a market somewhere beyond this area. I don't know, but online sales of books are something that we've been exploring with the last few years and having some success with that as well.
We're trying to keep this to an hour, so Jan, go to the next question.
Yeah, I'll go to the next question. Let's see here. What items, but this kind of is a little bit what we've just talked about, but you can think through this, and if we haven't heard from you on it, respond, but I'm going to move on to the next question. This one is about what items you think you would donate. So keep that in mind. Hopefully some of you already did answer that. What would you buy? How about that? What do you wish you had more access to in terms of used goods that you would purchase yourself? you can respond to either one of those.
I think tools. Thank you very much. Hi. I think tools is a very underserved area. Tools are crazy expensive. And sometimes you need a special tool for a specific thing, and then that's it. And you don't need that tool anymore, but somebody else could use it. So I think not just that, but having a tool library. And I actually meant to ask, if you work with maker spaces, I think this would be a great pairing, a reuse center that also works with makerspace, to have some kind of like a tool workshop kind of library where instead of everybody having to have their own tools at home that they don't always necessarily use, they can be a space where we can go borrow a tool and then bring it back, or we can contribute to that center to bring our tools that we no longer need or that we have replaced with others. Things like, DIY projects for the home, tools, gardening tools, things like that. I think that's very necessary and underserved. Thank you.
Thank you.
And construction materials too.
Construction materials.
DIY, you need tools, you need materials.
I'm going to throw in one from up here because I'm not seeing your hand right now. But another thing I think can be hard to get rid of that also would be something people would want to buy, especially say students or people new to the community, is furniture. Furniture that could be reused, maybe housed up a little bit, put in a new home. That's another one. Yeah, we've got some more.
And I was just gonna say, especially with landlords, tend to move out of their apartments and leave, an abundance of furniture. A lot of times it ends up in dumpsters going to the landfill when it can actually be reused.
Anybody else on those questions?
So I do shop at a lot of these stores, and one of what I think that can sometimes be an obstacle is not having somebody who knows about the product, who can tell you, I just recently bought a washer dryer, and I actually considered buying a used washer dryer. But I was reluctant. I couldn't get anybody to explain to me what the benefits of this machine over that machine was. So having some kind of a customer service person who's educated in the products, I think would be helpful. The other, I was going to mention before something, when my mom passed away and we were emptying her house, the hardest thing to get rid of was an absolutely beautiful and stellar piano. And I think, we tried selling it, couldn't sell it. We tried on local market, national market. And I think one of the challenges that I learned was, most families are going to electric keyboards because they're easier to transport, they're easier to buy. So the question becomes, what are the products that are just kind of phasing out of our everyday use? And what happens to them? We ended up, my sister took the piano, she lives on the other side of the country, so the shipping costs were way exceeded the cost of the instrument, but it was in perfect condition, it had been well maintained. I mean, this was a to die for piano. Anyway, those are my thoughts.
Anybody else?
Sporting equipment, kids outgrow their skates and skis and lacrosse sticks, and there might be a little market.
A building construction material that I have found problems with is paint. How many of us have bought a gallon of paint and we use a couple cups of it or whatever? I know there's chemical turn-ins with Ontario County, but still sometimes there's maybe some that you can use.
Right.
Regina's going to tell us about paint.
Hi, so I'm from the Department of Sustainability for Ontario County. I just want to let you know there is already a statewide reuse paint program. So it kind of works through retailers who are willing to accept already opened and used paint back to their stores. So you can drop off, any amount of paint that's left in your can back to these participating retailers. And through the program, the paint is collected, it's recycled into other materials, as well as recycled into new paint, which is then, distributed to others retailers to then market it again. So there is an opportunity. We have been looking into, getting some of that recycled paint on our shelves in our area at stores. But it is an ongoing program. So I believe in Geneva there is a Sherwood-Williams, that is exactly.
These are such fantastic ideas on all fronts. We don't want to keep everyone here all night, so I'm going to go to the last question, which is ideas on spaces. Again, this committee has been brainstorming some, but you may have some ideas that haven't come before us. And so in a dream world, think about both the warehousing end of things and retail shops. Where would you like to see something like this happen in Geneva? Gotcha.
Well, maybe the thought is more than one place, because say people at Ward 6 can't get up to, maybe we put it in the Gordon's or the Big Lots, or not the Big Lots, the Dollar Tree. That's a hard time for them to get over there. So maybe having a smaller storefront on the other side of town, or 3 locations in town, you never know.
Yeah, big. Yeah, okay. Oh.
How you doing? I'm Chris Lyman, your host tonight. Thanks for coming here. I wanted to just say 2 things. There's a new warehouse becoming available off of Route 14 that I wanted to bring to Mark's attention. I also wanted to point out that the city manager and the town supervisor are here with the economic developer of the city, and that's just a great thing to see, that this is a joint operation. I also wanted to say, because I'm heavily involved with the Center of Concern in Salvation Army, that fears that this would put them out of business don't really fit. We, as the Boys and Girls Club, started delivering food, which was the Center of Concern's main business. We've done it in partnership with them. We've expanded their ability to drive, and we've added 20 tons of food that was available to the town, and the Center of Concern is in the best shape it's ever been in at this time. I think this kind of opportunity suggests there's a demand for this sort of thing, and that the city and town working together like this is a great thing. Thanks.
Other thoughts?
So I say this with having no idea who owns the building, what the code is, I don't know. I wonder whether that warehouse you mentioned is the building where Real Eats used to be, next to Big Lots. That's a really big building. And I know there's this empty space on the mall in Hamilton in front of Wegmans, where there used to be another grocery store. I think it was called Gorman's at the corner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also a big enough space.
Yeah.
That could be like a more retail kind of area. Those are off the top of my head, the 2 spaces that I really thought of when I was here before. I don't know how difficult it would be to get them, but I know they're big enough.
We're brainstorming, Yeah, anybody else?
So I think transportation would be an issue. He mentioned you might need more than one place. Or the one that I dealt with when I lived in the DC area, they had a truck and they had people who come and pick things up. That's real important. When you talk about, like I have a pickup truck, but what I don't have is 3 guys to load the heavy things on it.
Great.
Anybody else?
Any other thoughts?
I don't need a mic, I don't think.
Yes, you do. Everyone who says, I don't need a mic, needs a mic.
I don't know what makes me think of this, but use medical equipment. And walkers, wheelchairs, hospital beds, these tend to have a very short life, and very expensive.
Well, these are great ideas, lots of inspiration. I want to say just a couple of things. First of all, I do want to thank Cheryl Tours for being here, because her operation is really important. They feed a lot of people, and I do think that these projects can go hand in hand and support each other. I also want to thank Diane Cohen, who is our consultant on this project and helping lead the way. I think her program in Ithaca is a true inspiration when you see how impactful it is in such a holistic way. And then finally, I want to thank everyone here. It's great you're here. There are sheets over on this table where you can sign up, I believe, right, for different, things, ways that you'd like to be involved. keep this form and get online and let us know your thoughts and your interest moving forward. We hope it will take the energy of many people, and that happened tonight, and my hope is that it continues and we get things moving forward in this direction. Yes, one more thought.
Maybe we need to nominate someone to be the head.
Oh, you go for it.
No, again, we just, if anyone wants to nominate someone to pick this thing up and run with it, they can be, yeah, they can be the ones.
I just wanted to add, and thank you everybody for coming, the pieces of paper you have, if you fill them out tonight, please read them with Keelan Rose, our executive assistant who is joining us tonight. And, or you can take a picture of the QR code, or you can, which will take you to the Town of Geneva website and the reuse page. And the same survey is on that website, so you can fill it out online, or you can fill out the paper. We would love to have the paper. What? Or have your friend, encourage people to go to the website and fill out the survey, because we're trying to gather as much information and see who's really willing to volunteer and be on committees and help plan this effort. So thank you so much.
And when you're filling that out and going home, all of this presentation is going to be recorded and it's accessible on the town's website or on the City of Geneva IDA's YouTube page. You can find it there. You can share with your friends. If something here was really interesting to you, we want to make sure that this gets to an even bigger crowd. We've completely packed the room, but there's a whole lot of other people who can see it, and they can all fill out that form, which is linked both on the YouTube page and on the town's webpage.
Well, thanks a lot, everybody, for coming. So you'll find out how to get to us with your ideas or your energy.